What do you do when difficult times arise in your life? How do you deal with stubborn, harsh people who seem intent on making you feel small, unwanted, and even deeply sad, anxious, or angry? Do you ever notice that the way you view your memory of a specific personal event varies from one month, year, or even decade to the next? Does it seem like your outlook becomes refined over time, allowing you to see the dramatic moments in your life with more ease and less tension as time goes by? Do you think this occurs only because time has a tendency to heal? Or would you believe that you can start seeing the cleaner, more refined image of that memory of even some recent event through an unusual, though simple understanding of how to interpret your whole life? Have you ever read an ancient story that was supposed to reveal wisdom and understanding, according to some friend or mentor, but didn't immediately grasp the moral of the story? Perhaps you recall hearing this friend explain to you that the story was not intended to be taken literally, but more poetically or symbolically, like a parable. What if the way you were taught to perceive the world around you was not only counterproductive, but also unnecessary? Because the way you were taught was to prioritize the facts in every situation in your life. Of course, you'd probably not cling too tightly to that teaching because you're human, and you need breathing room, not to be so tightly restrained within the narrowness of some factual path. You assuredly leave room for grace, forgiveness, and warm living feelings to inhabit your mind, if even just a tad, guiltily, as you recall that your role models expected unemotional perfection from you. Though living like existence is made up of nothing but facts, takes not only the fun out of life, but the warmth, beauty, and the comfort as well. It often introduces the uptight attitude that we often cloak ourselves with, afraid of every criticism or opinion about us, as we hide beneath the cloak of sternness. Bitterness hurts. It feels alienating. It feels lonely. It makes one feel vulnerable within while terrified of admitting it without. No matter when your last dramatic social, family, or introspective moment was, you can start understanding everything that happens to you right now. If the meaning of your overall life story, or even smaller chapters within it, feels as hard to understand as one of those ancient wisdom stories, it's probably because most of us are, in fact, taught to look at things too literally, whether our identities, our life stories, or an ancient parable. What if this literalism is over half the reason, possibly even the entire reason, why you still struggle with looking at all the drama in your life without letting it unjustly consume you? Perhaps our experiences in life were never meant to reveal their deeper meanings through stark literalism, just like those parables you may have read, but almost magically and immediately take on a deeper symbolic meaning the moment we start practicing a more symbolic interpretation of those experiences. One where all the experiences you have don't jut out from the landscape of your thoughts, as though they, and only they, are in your spiritual field of sight. What if, instead of looking at each event as though it were its own, isolated concern, you saw these as subtly connected, and you didn't see only these subtle connections, but could even see the small nuances in what each event could really mean for you? At this point, it would be as though you were practicing art, turning your life events into expressive paintings painted on the canvas of your subjective self, or even into poetic song lyrics that you never actually have to write down, but to understand, to feel, and to appreciate for the beautiful symbolism of your life, of your essence, that these reveal. What if, rather than relying on the old, stale, uncomfortable, and unnecessary literal interpretation of some conflict, of who did what to whom, of how one behaves with harsh sentiments towards you, your symbolic interpretation of these kind of interactions could reveal that this literal view is only the material version of events? Would this not empower you? What if you could start seeing the vulnerabilities, not in yourself, but in those who appear to find satisfaction in their conflict with you. What if you could see clear through the cloak they wear to appear more intimidating to you? To discover that this kind of person is not what they appear to be at face value, but is actually a deep, deep sea of misplaced priorities, distrust, fear, pain, and a starkly literalistic outlook that they exalt and confirm through their biases. Would you believe your deeper outlook? Would you see that, wherever and however they manage to slip their drama into your life, is a matter of their own dark biases? Would you feel satisfied to know that they are more than they're letting off to be, and that you can see through them, into their vulnerabilities, that they aren't really that powerful over you, as long as you do not take them, or their act, literally? Literalism is blinding. It steals the truth, replacing it with the facts. And these two things are never exactly the same. Who is badgering you in your life right now? What more could there be to the story behind this behavior? Or could this be a person, or even a group of people, who you hardly have the benefit of knowing well enough to even begin to imagine what vulnerabilities are causing them to behave out of bitterness, criticism, or other dark inclinations toward you? If that's the case, then dare to imagine anyway. If you do ponder on the symbolic meanings behind their behaviors towards you, as though they're a dark dream that you must interpret for yourself, then chances are that your intuition will kick in and your assessment of their vulnerabilities, as well as your own in relation to their treatment of you, will be accurate. If you've ever interpreted a dream for either yourself or a friend, then you already know how to rise above the literal interpretation of events that cause you everything from personal sadness to conflict to even pain and spiritual discomfort, and see things through the wise eyes of the sages who've written many parables. And it is at this point that you may decide to rewrite the unpleasant event as a true parable of your own. What does it all mean? The icy glare, the sarcasm, the raised voices, the cruel, harsh words of those who bring you discomfort. These aren't a reflection of you, but of their hidden inclination to feel small. No matter how much their social dogma may drive them to denounce their own human vulnerabilities in life. But you know better. By exchanging the literal interpretation for the symbolic interpretation, you never have to let anyone succeed at pretending to be your all-powerful judge, your all-knowing critic, or your nemesis. Imagine all the signs of their hostility, their self-righteousness, their verbal aggression, their iciness, and their egoism, and reinterpret these as you would a parable, a lyrical poem, or a strange dream. This non-literal approach to life protects you from the cunning, baffling, perplexing behavior of other people in the world, and can help get you through a personal crisis when it feels like no one's there for you. There are some who've said that life is but a dream, and if it were, then all you'd have to do to make helpful choices to help you get through the harder times would be to interpret this dream. It's helpful to look at life as though it were a dream, and it is in the interpretation of its strange details that we begin to awaken.